Welcome. My name is Bryce Carter, and I am the Colorado Program Director with Solar United Neighbors. We're excited to be launching our second Denver Solar Co-op. During this presentation, we'll talk about what solar is, our solar co-op process, and financing options available to you. At the end of the presentation, you'll hear from some of our important partners, including the City and County of Denver, who made this program possible through funding and helping outreach into our community. Also, I want to acknowledge that we have a lot more partners in addition to the ones you heard of tonight. So this is just a few others in the community. So the Alliance Center, Northside Sustainability Alliance, Vote Solar, New Energy Colorado, Solar Citizens, Physicians for Social Responsibility, and many others, including registered neighborhood organizations and other community groups. Partners are those that help us reach out into the community, may participate on our steering committee to make sure that we're moving things forward. And certainly if you or anyone in your network would be interested, feel free to reach out to us. So to kick things off, I'll do an overview of, again, who we are and how we got started. So Solar United Neighbors, we are a vendor-neutral nonprofit organization, and we're focused on being a community of people building a new energy system with rooftop solar at the cornerstone. So we want to help people go solar, join together, and fight for their energy rights. And especially in recent years, and especially with the events of this year, we want to acknowledge that when we talk about solar rights, it means rights for everybody, especially those that are in frontline communities. Thinking about communities that are disproportionately impacted, we want to make sure that they are able to receive the benefits as a priority first. So when you think about communities of color, particularly the Black community, they do have an unfair share of the cost of energy production, but we see fewer benefits. So when we think about families of color who are disproportionately harmed, they're seeing higher utility bills, they see higher rates of shutoffs, and in addition to that, we're thinking, or we see the impacts of housing discrimination over the generations of the last several hundred years even. And so when we talk about our work as Solar United Neighbors, it really started as a hub of people that were economically and racially diverse in Washington, D.C. And they focused on solar because it helped people pay for their electric bills. It also helped them stay in their homes at a time when DC was being gentrified quickly and the whole country was in the middle of a financial crisis. And this was back in 2007, 2008. And so rooftop solar really helped communities invest locally. It created local jobs, and it brought forward an energy system that was within everyone's reach. And so that was how everything started, was back in 2007. Here we have on the left Walter and then his friend Diego on the right. They watched An Inconvenient Truth and said, you know what, we want to do something. We want to do something tangible to make a difference when we look at how to address our emissions at our house. And so Walter did what he could by going to his mom and lobbying her and saying, hey, let's go solar. He said, that's a great idea, but let's figure out how we do that, and let's invite a bunch of our neighbors to do it together. So pretty soon, Walter and Diego were running up and down stairs of all their different neighbors, and the Mount Pleasant Solar Cooperative was born. 50 neighbors came together and said, you know, let's research this together and see what it takes. They very quickly realized it's a complicated process. They had to figure out, you know, what's an inverter? What does net metering do? Different companies were giving them different answers. The permitting in Washington, D.C. was complicated. Plus then you talk about the IRS and what does that look like in terms of getting certain rebates. And so they had to go through that entire process. But ultimately, of those 50 neighbors, about 45 of them went solar. Talking about a 2-year process, but we've been able to then since streamline that process into the solar co-op process, which typically takes between 6 to 8 months. And boy, have things grown. We're now over, I think we're approaching 40 megawatts worth of solar capacity that's been installed. We've helped thousands and thousands of families and businesses go solar, and it's really making an impact. Our Colorado program launched at the beginning of 2019. And just in that time to today, we've helped over 160 families go solar, investing $3 million into our local communities from the Front Range all the way to Grand Junction, Yampa Valley, and other areas. So we're excited to be continuing this momentum, certainly with the Denver Solar Co-op. And so when we talk about the co-op process, it is a group-buy process. It involves 50 to 100 neighbors that go solar together. And like I said, we brought that 2-year process down to a 6 to 8 month process. And it's really the group are the ones who lead and select the installer. So again, we're vendor neutral. We facilitate the process. It's our members that look at what everyone's interests and needs are, and then they decide of all the bids that come in, which one to move forward with. Because there's this bulk negotiation and there's economies of scale, we do see favorable pricing. And ultimately, whatever agreement that does come forward with the installer, that agreement is applied to individual contracts with each of our members. And this entire process is free. I should add that the City and County of Denver are supporting us for this solar co-op, which we're very appreciative of. And that allows us to provide this service to the community. If you're in an area that doesn't have a solar co-op, or if you're interested in a little bit more in-depth process of getting proposals reviewed, you can sign up for individual membership. And so that individual process, we can review up to 3 different proposals with you. You're able to negotiate your own deal, might be on a faster timeline. And we provide that ongoing advice and assistance, even through and after install. And that's an $85 annual membership. But again, everyone that's Denver Solar Co-op, this is a free service we provide as part of being a member of the co-op here. So with that, we'll go ahead and move forward to talking about solar technology. And like I said, we'll talk a little bit more in depth of the co-op process and then talk about solar economics. And once after this section, I'll pause for questions once we go through the technology side of things. So how does a solar panel work? We're going to start very basic here. Solar photovoltaic is essentially photo, light, voltaic power. It converts that sun energy from hitting the ground into electricity. And many panels right now, they're about 20% efficient. So they can do that conversion when 100% hits the ground, 20% can be converted into electric power. And it does that through silicon wafers, which naturally conduct, or basically electrons get excited when sunlight hits it, and being able to capture that energy and then divert it through basically wires that allow a current of electrons to go along it. So this is essentially a direct current system. So as you can see in this image, you see those wafers, you see the electrodes that capture all that current, and then ultimately that all comes out of the junction box, which then can be stacked together, which is what makes solar array. So when you have multiple solar panels together. And so when we talk about the capacity of solar, we often talk about it in kilowatts or kilowatt hours. And so here you have an example. This is a 12 panel system. Each of these solar panels has a capacity of 250 watts. And so what that means when we talk about measuring a system in kilowatts, this 3,000 watt or 3 kilowatt system, that's basically the capacity or the potential it has to produce power. So at noontime on a really sunny day, you're going to see close to that 3,000 kilowatts. It's very similar to basically the horsepower in your vehicle. So if you're going up a hill and you're flooring your engine, you're using the maximum horsepower, the maximum potential of your engine. And then to measure that production over time, that's where the kilowatt hour comes into play. And so if you are doing maximum amount of energy, say 3 kilowatts over an hour, that would be 3 kilowatts hours of electricity that's produced. And that's similar to essentially miles per gallon, so an average over time of what you produce. So most homeowners, they install anywhere from 2 kilowatt up to 12 kilowatts of capacity in their house. But it really is dependent on the needs, the sizing of the system, and what your goals are around going solar. So once you do have that electrical current created, you have a direct current, it needs to be converted into alternating current, which is electricity we use on the grid in our homes. And so inverter does that conversion. And there are string inverters in which your entire solar system it converts electricity at one site. There's also microinverters, which essentially do it at every single solar panel independently, and they all wire together to create that alternating current. If you have a string inverter, each solar panel will also have an optimizer, which allows it to be able to essentially have a little computer. So if the power goes off or anything happens, those panels can turn off, as well as track the production over time. So with those solar panels, then they need to be mounted somewhere. In terms of racking on a roof, there's flashing or clamps depending on the type of roof. So a metal roof might need clamps. Flashing can go within your asphalt shingle households. And there's a variety of other technologies to make sure that it can work on your rooftop. And here you can see just with an asphalt shingle roof, it's directly bolted into the awnings, making it a secure connection. Even with the high winds here in Colorado, these can be secure, and it's also under warranty. This is an example of a metal roof where, again, you may not even need to penetrate the roof. You can actually just clamp it on and securely fasten them to the roof this way. And then this is a parapet to parapet walls using I-beams to be able to support the solar system. Then if your rooftop, whether it's a preference or if you're not able to have solar on it, you can also install solar in your yard with a ground mount system here. There are some additional expenses to build the infrastructure and to wire it to the house, but for some people that might make the most sense. And then once those panels are producing those electricity to go through the inverter, it's connected to your roof, then it provides power to your electrical panel. Typically, it's a simple connection, and most home electric systems don't need upgrades before solar. Though in Denver, I will say we did see, because of recent code upgrades, there's a couple potential additions. We had a couple members last year that had their periscope, which goes to the street power lines. They needed to have that increased in size. So whatever the case, if there are any upgrades, it's probably something that needs to be done for safety anyway. But for most systems, again, it's pretty easy. It's something that can be plugged into your electrical panel, and the installer will be able to work with you and based on what your needs are and let you know about that. So to recap, again, you have that solar array producing electricity. That direct current gets converted to alternating current through the inverter. That goes to the electrical panel. And from there, the electricity goes wherever the demand is. So if you're using a bunch of electricity, that's where those electrons are going to go. If you're not using it, it's going to go through your utility meter and back onto the grid to power your neighbors' homes. So part of the work that Solar United Neighbors does is we help facilitate an evaluation of your roof. So when you sign up to be a member, we look at whether you're qualified or maybe qualified or unqualified based on what we see through satellite imagery. So what we look for is to make sure that there's no shading, whether it's trees or buildings that are going to be on your rooftop. We want to make sure that there's enough space to mount the panels, so there's not a lot of pipes or other obstructions. We look for at least 200 square feet of space to put panels on. And then finally, the rotation of your roof. Solar is most favorable when it's facing south. That way, year-round, you're getting the most potential of your solar electricity, especially during winter. And the western slope is actually something that's becoming more favorable, especially with the time of use rate structure that we're going to be moving to. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. And then last but certainly not least, there's also an option for community solar. And so if for any reason you can't have solar on your property, or if you're a renter, community solar is a way that you can get bill credit on your bill to be able to offset your electricity. And these slides are from Johnny. And, actually, Johnny, if you're still on, I'm happy to have you talk through these if you would like, or I can also run through them. Up to you.
Thanks, Bryce. Happy to jump in for a slide or two. I think there's only 2 or 3 here about this program. So we're really excited about this Renewable Denver Community Solar Initiative, as we recognize the importance of having optionality for residents and for businesses to be able to invest in solar, either on their own homes or in their community, and just ensuring that we're creating as much investment as we possibly can. We recognize that we have a lot of space across the city, a lot of municipal rooftops and parking lots that sit and bake in the sun all day. And we're trying to come up with a way to make sure that we could really unlock the solar potential of those facilities. And this program enables us to do that. One of the great things about community solar is we can take the power that we're generating from those facilities and share it with the community. So we can ensure that we're providing power both to our municipal operations, to residents that need it the most, and to those that also want to subscribe and help to advance Denver's clean energy objectives. It's really important to us that these projects will be distributed across Denver's city council districts and built with local labor. And we've been working with our Department of Real Estate and facilities managers across the city to take a list of 150 city-owned buildings and pre-qualify them essentially for being solar ready, understanding which ones have roofs that are of a sufficient age and quality to withstand solar, or parking lots that are configured in such a way that we could easily deploy a solar canopy as covered parking in those locations. And that community impact is really at the center of everything we're trying to accomplish, and ensuring that all of the payments that are coming in from our government subscribers to this power and to other residents are helping those in our community who need it the most. You want to go to the next slide, please? A few other things on the community impact that we're trying to achieve. I personally believe that working with students and helping to show the younger folks in our community the value that solar can bring, not just from a greenhouse gas reduction perspective, but also in how it can help to create jobs or help to be more efficient in Denver's energy use, is really important. So we're excited to be working with our partners, specifically Grid Alternatives, to create a solar futures program for at least 10 schools around the community. Grid Alternatives is also helping to create job training programs specifically for underserved and underemployed members of our community. And we're excited to see hopefully more than 20 residents, but through their Solar Training Academy, giving opportunities to multiple cohorts of individuals to show them the basics of solar installation, and then to provide hands-on experience that will qualify them, certify them for longer term and more stable employment with local solar installers in Denver. I mentioned a few times now the opportunity that this will create for energy bill savings for our low-income residents. And through these relationships that we're able to establish in this program, we're able to work with other nonprofits such as Energy Outreach Colorado to ensure that low-income residents in our community and really every subscriber can have access to other energy reduction services, energy efficiency rebates, weatherization programs. I think a lot of opportunity there for us to engage or a more comprehensive suite of energy services through this program. And then to be planned, we'll be taking one of our projects. We're hoping to build about 25 different sites around the city with solar, but at least one of those will bring out members from the community and give folks the chance to actually install solar panels themselves, kind of a crash course, like a barn raising type activity, a big party type event to get folks out and help with the deployment of these solar resources. Hopefully by late next year, when all these projects are being constructed, we'll have figured out a COVID friendly, or COVID will hopefully be a distant memory, although not holding my breath personally. We'll figure out a way to do this so that we can still get folks out from the community and participate in this great event and great milestone for Denver and our community solar project. And next slide, I think that may be it. Nope, just the reminder to everybody, as part of this process with Solar United Neighbors, we're going to provide you a lot of information on how to go solar on your own home. I think that's plan A for a lot of people. And if things don't work out, join our pre-launch waitlist, support clean energy in Denver. We'll keep you informed about the community solar option as well and see if that might be something for you.
Great. Thank you so much, Johnny. I really appreciate you helping summarize that. And we're really excited to be partnering with Denver to support this program because, as I mentioned at the beginning, equity is a core principle of what we do. And I'm really excited that this is an opportunity that the community is going to have. And so as we do community outreach, we definitely want to highlight that opportunity for everybody. And so when we do look at rooftop solar, you can get credit for what you produce through a policy called net metering. And that's really what allows that flow of electricity to and from the customer. And so when that generation is more than you use, that extra electricity flows back through the meter and you get a credit on your bill for that excess production. And so in other words, it's the amount of electricity used minus the amount of electricity produced, and that's ultimately your electric bill. And this is required by law for investor-owned utilities here in Colorado. And so it's a great way to make sure that not only do you meet your demand and you can actually meet up to 120% of your demand. So you can actually build a slightly larger system, especially if you're looking at going more electric at your home or with an electric vehicle. What's important to note, though, is that what happens when the power goes out, and a lot of people in California, once the utilities had to shut down the grid, they realized, well, wait, where's my power? And it's a safety mechanism. When the grid is down, solar systems shut off because they don't want those electrons going on those lines when the linemen come out to work on them. And so, if you want to maintain power during an outage, you're going to need to have batteries. And so some of the benefits of batteries is time of use, which I said, again, we'll talk more about that in the financing section. We don't have the numbers yet, but in some models, you can actually potentially come out ahead by leveraging your battery, by saving when electricity is cheap, the solar that you produce, selling it when it's high. In addition, there's also, if you're in a more rural location, which is less Denver, but certainly if you experience frequent utility outages or brownouts, it provides extra resilience to your home. And then it also ensures that critical loads, whether it's well pumps, medical equipment, other needs, are able to stay online. And then certainly every time there is an emergency or disaster, you always see that one household that has the extension cord and everyone's phone on the block plugged into it. And oftentimes that's the one person that has solar and storage. So just a quick example, here we have the Johnson's family, and they lose power from their utility several times a year. And each time the power is out, it's often out for the entire day. So for them to recharge their system or their battery, they realized they would need a 6 kilowatt hour battery bank. And they sized that based on knowing what they wanted to power when the power is out. So their refrigerator, a small microwave, some lights, some modem, cable modem, some outlets, but not to power the energy intensive stuff like their stove, dryer, and electric water heater. And that's what they decided they could do on if they lose power for a day. Now, what's noteworthy here is that if there's, say, a snowstorm and your solar panels get covered, or if there's several days of darkness, you're not going to be able to recharge your battery. So not until the sun's back out and is able to recharge those panels, that's what you need to plan for. And this is just an example of the fact that there is an additional cost, and we'll get more into this in a few slides here. But when you talk about storage, in this example, it's about $9,000 for 6 kilowatt hours of storage. I know in some markets in Colorado, I've heard there's a 10 kilowatt hour battery that is $10,000. So again, it all comes down to your needs and what you want to size it for. But certainly we're seeing the battery storage costs come down pretty quickly in the market. So I'm going to run through several questions that we typically get here. And so think of what questions you have. Feel free to add them in the chat box, and I'll get to them in a couple minutes. First question is, what type of warranties apply to a solar system? And there's 3 primary ones. First is the installer's warranty. So the roof work that they do, any puncturing that they do, that's sealed and secured. That's often a 10-year workmanship warranty that we see. In addition, there's also the manufacturer's warranty. So making sure that those panels are not defective, they're going to be lasting for a long time. And those are often anywhere from 10 to 15 or more years. And generally, if a solar panel has an issue, you'll find out fairly quickly. And then most importantly is the power production warranty. And so power production basically guarantees that your solar panels are going to produce a certain amount of electricity over time. And what we see as standard is over 25 years, those panels are guaranteed to run at 80% efficiency. And so what that means is if you have a 10 kilowatt system, after 25 years, that system is going to be producing no less than 8 kilowatts of capacity when the sun's out. Then in terms of homeowners insurance, oftentimes we see that there's no impact or even savings in some cases. So if you get offered that there might be an increase to your homeowners insurance, it might be time to shop around. I personally had a slight increase in my homeowners insurance. That was because my solar system was built on my detached garage, which means that I had to raise the protection of that part of my property just a little bit. Maintenance is fairly low maintenance. At some point, you may have to replace your inverter. Those typically last from 15 or so years. Microinverters, a lot of times, might have warranties up to 25 years. So depending on the equipment offering, that's something to look for. And then something that is noticeable now is obviously we have a lot of smoke in the Denver metro area. And so I actually just the other day washed down my panels, and I saw a 10% increase right away after I got all the soot that's accumulated on it. No soap and water. You can actually just rinse it off with water and it's fine. But otherwise, it's fairly low maintenance generally through the seasons, aside from what we're currently experiencing. The weather kind of washes it off naturally. These systems, as I mentioned, the power production warranty is 25 years. When I was in Yampa Valley, I actually met people that had solar from the 70s. They were like, I think they said it was like 50-watt systems or panels, really small size, but they're still producing electricity today. So these systems can actually last a pretty long time. And then will a homeowners association allow solar in my home? Yes, they actually legally cannot stop you from installing solar, but they have a lot of say in where it goes. And so we always encourage you reach out to your HOA to work with them on where it might be sited. If you have any issues, feel free to reach out to me. We also have an HOA guide on our website. And then if you're in a historic district, there are even more limitations there. Similarly, if you have any challenges, let us know. We're happy to work with you on that. But again, for the most part, the historic districts I've worked with, they've been willing to work with making sure that people can get their solar system. And then the last thing I'll mention is that everyone always asks about hail. My own house got wrecked with the hailstorm from, I think it was 2007. And it's worth noting for that hailstorm, which was the most expensive natural disaster in Colorado history, Ground Zero right there in Golden is the National Renewable Energy Lab. And they have about 3,000 solar panels out in the field that were exposed to those huge hail balls. And out of those thousands of solar panels, I believe it was only one, maybe two of them were actually damaged from that occurrence. So these panels are actually pretty dang resilient. If you do have hail damage on your roof, your insurance will cover taking off the panels, fixing the roof, and putting them back on. Alrighty, that's a lot of me talking. So I'm going to pause and see if anyone has any questions. You're welcome to either do it in the chat, or you can go ahead and also raise your hand. And I'm happy to unmute you. So any questions from anybody? Let's see, Pat, I see you. Let me work on my technology here. Pat, I'm going to unmute you. So you can.
Oh, hey, so I was just wondering, I was kind of reading on Xcel's website that they don't allow batteries. Is that 100% sure that they would?
When you say don't allow, you mean just at a home, or?
Yeah, at our home. And maybe I misread that.
That's the first I've heard of it. Johnny, are you familiar with anything more there? Yeah, go ahead.
So Xcel Energy is going through a plan now to create an incentive program for battery ownership.
Okay, good.
They've proposed creating a $1,250 incentive for a homeowner that wanted to buy a battery and then participate in their demand response program. And what that means is your battery would be connected to your Wi-Fi, and if there were an event during the summer in which everybody's cranking their air conditioning at the same time, that creates a spike in the energy requirement on the grid. So they may call 4 events a summer where they would need to use your battery to help balance out the system. But they would pay you that $1,250 incentive for participating in that program, and you would only be required to participate for a year. We're working in the development of this plan right now to try to create additional incentives for homeowners. To say every time they needed to use your battery for a kind of grid event, they would pay you more money. So hopefully that's something to look forward to in the future, but there is the opportunity right now to receive incentives for buying a battery and hooking it up in your home if you're an Xcel Energy customer.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how Xcel Energy, with their time of use, deploys programs like the battery program, because there are ways that customers can really take advantage of the market, let alone further incentives like Johnny was just describing as well. Great. I'm going to go ahead and mute you again. I just want to acknowledge, Lauren, I saw your question. I saw Vincent answered it, but I'll just share really quickly. Just to clarify, there is no wait list to join the Denver Solar Co-op. If you would like to go and sign up for the Community Solar Program, that's where the wait list is right now. And that's the program that's going to be launched hopefully later, mid-year or so, next year, 2021, that Johnny was talking about with the Community Solar Program. All the while, we want to get the word out about solar, about the solar co-op, about the community solar program. So any and all help to reach out to neighbors is greatly appreciated. If you have a coffee shop or something, we have flyers that you can get. And so if you are interested in helping out, reach out to myself or any of our colleagues. I'll put my email in the chat. And that's basically how this works, is helping get the word out. So then, Robbie, I see you also have a question. So let me go ahead and let you unmute yourself here.
Hi, this is Robbie. I just want to be clear that the co-op is for determining a price to put solar on your individual home. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And so the way it works is that the installer is selected. They'll get your information with your home install, and they'll provide you a bid. Basically, they say, here's with everything that you're looking to do, here's the price it's going to be. And then it's up to you if you want to sign that contract, or if you decide that's not for you, you want to walk away. There's no obligation to go solar.
And are the federal tax credits still applicable in this situation?
They are. We're going to get to that in a few minutes, but we're anticipating there won't be any installs completed this year for this Denver co-op, but next year, for the duration of the year, there will be a 22% ITC tax credit. So you can get 22% of what you pay for the system back for your taxes.
In 2021, correct?
Correct. And then after, go ahead.
My understanding is it goes away, right?
After next year, as of now, yes. Don't hold your breath with the politics, but right now, unfortunately, it seems like that's the direction it's still going, is it will be phased out. Okay, great. Thank you, Robbie. Any other questions from folks about the co-op process, or the technology side of things? Okay. I'm going to lower your hand, Robbie, unless you had something else. Okay, cool. Then let us move forward with the next section here. So how do solar co-ops work? I touched on it earlier. But again, it really helps get the best value on the installation and support throughout the process. You can connect with fellow solar enthusiasts. You can even become part of the growing solar movement. We are doing a lot of advocacy programs. Actually, with with the time of use proposal, we did provide some comments to the Public Utilities Commission to try and make sure that that is transparent and fair. And so certainly it's something that on the local level, we have great cities that are leaders like Denver. In other communities that we've been, sometimes there are policies that are hindering solar. And so we want to support educational outreach and advocacy where appropriate. And so that's something we do. You're welcome to join. Also, if you want to just take advantage of the great price and walk away, you can do that too. So in terms of our process, as I mentioned, it's a 6 to 8 month timeline, though with COVID, things are stretched out a little bit longer. For the Denver Solar Co-op, we're actually going to keep open the sign up longer. It's going to be a 4-month timeline, just to make sure everyone has the opportunity to hear about the program over the next coming months. But really, the first stage is learning about the solar co-op, attending the information session, which is what this is. It's a webinar. People are then welcome to sign up to participate, and then grow the solar co-op. It really is word of mouth that does wonders. And that's what we saw in Mesa County, was because so many people got so excited, had yard signs, talked to their neighbors. We saw over 200 members join that specific co-op. Once we do hit about 30 participants, and I imagine we'll probably bump this up just a little bit for Denver. We're already actually at 20 signups as of today. So we're excited to see that momentum. But once we hit that right amount, we're going to open up the competitive request for proposal process. And that's when installers are going to be able to apply with their bids. And we do initial review. We call through the references, we check their licenses, make sure that the equipment and warranties that they were offering are on par with what we expect from the industry. And then ultimately, the co-op participants are able to serve on a selection committee and then decide which installer of all those installers is the best option based on the needs of the co-op. And so that's often a pretty fun night of several hours of discussion and really looking thoroughly through all that information and then making an informed decision. So once that installer is selected, then we move forward where they start site visits. Most installers we've been working with now can do virtual site visits as well. And then everyone will receive a customized proposal based on that solar co-op pricing. Then they can sign a contract with the installer or not, and then you can move forward with the installation. And once things get wrapped up, we want to celebrate the fact that people are going solar together. And so when we talk about the selection process, again, it's the co-op participants who select the installer. They do look at a variety of options, including the price. And I should emphasize, the lowest price doesn't always win. There are areas where the value of it being a local company that's well-known, that's reliable, might be a higher value over the lowest price from a company that, say, is out of state. There's also equipment quality, warranties, and experiences are all things that are considered based on how the needs of the co-op are going to be met. And so that's basically it for that section. I think I saw a question pop up. Let's see. Yeah, so there's no signing. Yeah, there's no obligation. So your participation as a member for the solar co-op, again, is completely free and there's no obligation. So you can get that bid from the proposal that has that bulk pricing, and then you can take advantage of it or not. Any other questions about the co-op process? And I'll also add, we've certainly have had some issues with some installers, and even through that, that's where we come into play, is that we can act as a facilitator, make sure people through their individual contracts are getting their needs met by the installer, facilitate conversations to make sure that any issues are resolved. And we can even escalate things from there in terms of advocating for our members or helping facilitate from there. So again, we provide that support for everything. And if there's nothing else, I'll move us forward to the next section here. And so, yeah, the economics of solar. Solar really is a great investment. I put it on par with when you look at Energy Star Appliance. While there is obviously an initial cost, the amount of savings you're going to have over time is going to help pay for itself, and more so. The cost of solar have come down 73% since 2010. It truly is no longer a specialty or boutique project. It's actually something that's becoming mandated in places like California, and it has an excellent return on investment. And so, sorry, I need to date this slide, but that should say 22% tax credit after 2021 or for 2021. And as you can see here, from 2010 to 2017, the prices have continued to go down. Though what you see is that the system components, the technology is maturing, so it's starting to levelize, but the soft costs of the installer remain high. And that's the soft cost of going out into the community, informing potential customers, sitting down at the kitchen table, giving a presentation, and following through with that customer to actually lock in a contract. For an installer, that can literally cost thousands of dollars per customer. And so a part of our role is to support that community education and kind of kickstart that whole process and meet those needs. So that way the installer has a qualified, informed lead and is able just to get to work and get the job done. And so in exchange, we're very transparent how we're funded. We're funded through grants. As I mentioned, with the City and County of Denver, we have some funding from there. And then also for every install that is in a signed contract, we get $600 of a development fee from the installer. And so that's them saving money. It allows the customer to save money, and it supports our mission in doing what we do. And so again, that's what we do, is we reduce the soft costs in terms of this slide. And so when we talk about pricing, it is worth noting that we talk about it by the price per watt. So if you are looking at a 3,000 watt or a 3 kilowatt system at $9,000, that means it's about $3 a watt. It is important to note that solar is a longer term investment. It has no moving parts, and it has at least a 25-year lifespan, and it is a hedge against rising energy prices. And so this pricing, $3 a watt is the state average that we've seen. In some areas it's higher, some areas it's a little bit lower. But so it's $3, I think, is a good standard as the market continues to evolve with what we're seeing on the federal tax level. So as I said, so the range of the 4 kilowatt to 8 kilowatt size systems, you can see the pricing difference of 12 to 24,000. And I apologize, we should update this slide as well with the 22% federal tax credit. But as you see, that would be reduced 22%. So that'd still be around $10,000 for the 4 kilowatt system, and then give or take 19,000 or so for the 8 kilowatt system. But ultimately, you do get a net profit from that investment. And so you can see that you get those savings annually, and then over time, the system does pay for itself. And again, this is where we are right now, the 22% with the 2021 tax credit. And so you can see what the savings will be like, and then it goes to 0% 2022. So you'll want to make sure that your system installation is completed by December 31st of 2021 in order to receive this. For businesses, the tax credit goes down to 10% and it stays there indefinitely. So that's definitely a benefit for businesses. And so this payback here is just kind of a generalized way of showing if you have the ability to have a cash price, whether you finance that through home equity line of credit or similar, you can take advantage of the federal tax credit. You get that reduction over time, and then within 8 to 12 years, you'll actually pay off that system and then have the proceeds from there. You can also do a loan, and so you can see similarly after about 10 to 12 years, you start to have the dividends pay off from that. And then you could do a PPA, which is a power purchase agreement. It's essentially you will loan your roof to a company to install panels that you get a credit for. But you also pay that company to run and operate those panels, and they get their share of it as well. So certainly there's pros and cons to each, and whatever you decide to do, we always encourage people to be sure to read the fine print. I know some people in PPAs didn't realize they had to buy the system outright when they were selling their home. And so that was a catch that took some people by surprise. Now, these numbers, I'll admit, we actually need to do some of these to evaluate time of use, which is where all residents of Xcel Energy are going to move to a default time of use rate structure. And so time of use pricing is basically where they price the kilowatt hour depending on the time of day, whether it's peak or off-peak hours and the type of season it is. And so with net metering, the value of your solar electricity will vary along with that cost of electricity. And I'll show you some graphs that explain this in a second. And as we mentioned, battery storage can help you store solar energy when it is cheaper to use, and then it can help offset the purchasing of electricity when it's more expensive. So as of January 1st, 2021, you can see here, these are the two rate structures that we will have. These are showing the different off-peak, shoulder, and on-peak rates for both summer and winter. Winter rates are October through May, summer rates are for June through September. So you can see the off-peak rate, which is essentially overnight up to 1 p.m. daily, is at 5.13 cents per kilowatt hour. The shoulder level varies between summer and winter, but you can see it gets up to about 9.5 cents during the summer. And then it approaches 14 cents during the summer when it's on peak. And so for the example of the summer rates, this graph kind of shows what it looks like on a typical day from the overnight, which again, 5.13. You have the shoulder period from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. where that price goes up. And then again, that peak at 13.86 cents. And it's worth noting when you talk about solar, the reason why there's so much electricity demand, especially in the later afternoon, is because everyone's having their air conditioners run. They are trying to keep cool. And solar is also at high production because the sun is out and it's shining. And so this is where, especially as you get to those later hours, having a western exposure of your solar system might actually provide some additional economic benefit. So as I said, we just got these numbers in recent weeks. We're actually trying to figure out how to best calculate the savings from a time of use rate structure. Some of our partners I've spoken with anticipate that solar customers more or less are going to break even throughout the year, if not fall slightly ahead in terms of the payoff and the benefits that this has. Though time of use in general, it's incentivizing behavior of customers. So really it comes down to the individual. How much are they going to take advantage of this pricing? And I know this can be confusing. And And so I'll get to questions in just a second, but I'll wrap up in this section. So in terms of the solar economics, in terms of financing, we are finance neutral, but we definitely want to make sure everyone knows of opportunities with various banks and other loans. There's the States Renew program as well, which has low interest rates. And so definitely check those out. We have a resource on our website that lists everything we're aware of and always adding new options too. But again, there's standard loans, there are solar loans and green loans, bridge loans, home equity line of credit to refinance. And then there's also third-party ownership, which I talked about, the leases and power purchase agreements. And so just to wrap up on this section, again, to sign up, it's free. You can just go to solarunitedneighbors.org/Denver. And you can also get involved as we do solar advocacy. So I've mentioned this before, but we do petitions. We get involved with inviting our representatives to the Solar Caucus and pursuing federal policy. We also have local groups. So we have a steering committee for the Denver Solar Co-op, where we want to help support, at this point, digital events and other fun activities, and can share action alerts because we do often see the value of solar being undermined in markets across the country. So we want to be ready to defend them. And so ultimately, this is what our website looks like. You can go on here, and we are going to have additional events in the future. We also are going to have Spanish language services. So we're going to have presentations available as well as other opportunities. So that's a resource that we definitely want to make accessible to the community. So with that, I'm happy to take questions on this last section or anything else. Let me see here. I know, Robert, you posted something. Yeah, so we do see a range of savings, and it's we don't necessarily guarantee you're always going to see savings. It depends on the selection committee. We often do see anywhere from 10 to 20% savings as kind of standard. I've seen savings go up to 45% below market rate, which there are pros and cons to that. But certainly we typically see some type of savings below market rate. And we try to be very transparent about what pricing people are getting compared to what we see elsewhere. Thank you for sticking with us. This concludes the formal information webinar, but I do want to circle back to express my appreciation to our friends and partners who joined us for this conversation. The following are their awards from the beginning of the webinar. So tonight, we're really excited to have several guest speakers with us to help celebrate the launch of the Denver Solar Co-op. And so we're just going to kind of run through everyone's names, let them introduce themselves, and speak for a couple of minutes about why they're here and the stories they have to share. So to kick us off, I would love to invite Stacy Decker, who was a co-op member in 2019 and is also an advisory board member, to introduce herself and speak for a few minutes. Stacy, take it away.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Again, my name is Stacy Decker, and I am an advisory board member for Solar United Neighbors of Colorado. But before that, I was a member of the first co-op. And, we live in South Denver and had been, finally finished doing some work on our house. And the next thing coming up was our 8-year-old actually was asking us how we were going to cut our carbon emissions. So we started looking into solar panels or electric vehicles and trying to decide what, would make the most sense for our family at this time. And so we actually went ahead and got an electric vehicle before I found Sun. And so we did that first. And then because I had gotten several bids and it really just made more sense to do the car for us. But then I found Sun and did the math there, and that made a whole lot of sense as well. So we went ahead and made the jump and did both in the same year. So we had a great experience with Solar United Neighbors. I was also a member of the selection committee, so it was a really cool experience to be part of the group of people around the table looking at the bids from all of the companies and looking at the priorities of the co-op members and deciding which contractor we should select. So that was a really interesting process to be part of. And if you, become a member of the co-op, I highly encourage getting involved on that level as well. But it saved us a lot of money. It was a really nice community building experience. And then we also had Bryce and the Sun team to support us along the way with, plenty of info when we were trying to decide what kind of system to buy. And then support throughout the process as we were, navigating the actual purchase and install and all the way to the end. So we found it to be a really helpful model, and that's one of the reasons I decided to come on as an advisory board member, was to help share this experience with others and with our neighbors and get more people to go solar. So we ended up getting a system. We have 26 solar panels, and they were installed in mid-March. And we so far have produced more than 8.5 megawatts of energy, which according to my end phase says is at least 151 trees, which was a fun way to put it. And so just over a few months, it covers our entire electricity usage, including our electric vehicle. And then we get, a teeny tiny check for a few bucks back from Xcel every month in addition to that. So we're interested to see sort of how we go through the rest of the year here all the way back to March and see what it looks like over the course of a year. But we've been really happy, and it's been a great investment. It's already saving us money every month. And, it's also been fun to see that since we got solar panels, we've had several neighbors ask us about it, and some neighbors have gone solar too. So yeah, I'm just happy to be here, happy to answer any questions about the experience of being a co-op member or being on the steering committee or anything like that, and happy to share more about our experience. Please just reach out and let me know.
Great, thank you so much, Stacy. And certainly Stacy is a resource, as well as earlier we had Morgan, who's one of our interns, has said hello. She's helping us do outreach into the community. And really, I think underlines the fact that we are a grassroots organization. It's our members and community members that are really helping make these connections and make this solar co-op possible. And so I would love to transition to Pete Everly, who is the co-chair of the Colorado Renewable Energy Society. You guys have been a partner with us since the very beginning when we launched, over a year and a half ago. So Pete, take it away.
Well, thanks, Bryce, and glad I could get through some of my technical issues and get on the call here. As a part of the Colorado Renewable Energy Society, we've been advocating for personal action as well as policy action to increase distributed solar since 1996. So being able to partner with a group like Solar United Neighbors is just a wonderful opportunity, and we've just enjoyed every minute of it. It's really satisfying to see actual numbers, to see how successful the co-op was here in Fort Collins and how the models spread throughout Colorado, to really help push adoption beyond kind of the early adopters, the prosumers, and really make it more easy to procure, easy to even look at, for all the people that join and just kick the tires. And I did that even though I'm in the solar garden up here. The process was so simple and easy. And I think that's really going to be key to continuing to increase the levels of distributed energy.
Great. Thank you, Pete. And certainly as we work in communities across the state, it is our local partners that really provide support, whether it's financial or even hands-on, working with other partners and getting the word out. And Alpine Bank has been one of those partners for us, and especially our Mesa County Solar Co-op, which is just wrapping up. We just surpassed about $1 million worth of projects, over 50 different installs, over 200 members. So really excited. That was influential because of the support we got from Alpine and others. And really excited to welcome Susan working with us here in the Denver metro area. Susan's the Vice President of the Regional Business Development with Alpine Bank. And yeah, with that, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Bryce. We're happy to be known as a partner and friend of the Solar United Neighbors. That's awesome. We're for those of you who don't know us, we're an independent, employee-owned Colorado community bank, and we have 40 branches throughout Colorado. We honestly believe that the long-term health and success of the bank, of the communities that we serve, are directly linked to the health and quality of the natural environment. So we, for our own purposes, have obtained ISO 14001 certification, which is a globally recognized certification of how you run your business in a sustainable way. But also for our customers, we've created a series of green loans. So we have home equity loans and lines of credit, so you can generate your own clean energy or get energy savings for your home. we also have green loans if you want to buy electric hybrid vehicles or fuel efficient vehicles. If you have a miles per gallon rating of 40 miles per gallon or more, you get half a point off your interest rate. So we're really trying to encourage our customers to join with us in this effort to protect the planet and recognize that people are such an important component in that. So we were quite involved in the Mesa County Solar United Neighbors project, which I think was wildly successful. And so we're really excited to see the launch here in Denver and look forward to being involved.
Thank you, Susan. And last but certainly not least, I would love to introduce our friends over in the City and County of Denver, particularly the Climate Action, Sustainability, and Resiliency Office. There's definitely a huge challenge ahead when we think about dealing with climate change and supporting the ambitious renewable energy goals that the city has. And so it is an honor to welcome Grace, and I'll let you take it away and talk a little bit more about what's happening on the Denver side of things.
All right, great. And I'm not on mute. Excellent. Well, thanks so much. My name is Grace Rink. I'm the director of the new office that Bryce just mentioned, the Denver Office of Climate Action, Sustainability, and Resiliency. And we are excited to partner with Sun and promote opportunities for our residents and small businesses to go solar. So Denver's been a leader on this issue for nearly 2 decades. Our current goal is to reduce emissions 80% by 2050. But just this past summer, the Climate Action Task Force, which was convened by Mayor Hancock, challenged us to be more aggressive. They recommended that we reduce emissions 100% by 2040. So that's 20% more 10 years earlier. So the question for our office is, how do we do that? We develop city policies and manage programs that engage residents and businesses in all of Denver's neighborhoods. And we support our colleagues in other departments in work that's integral to meeting our goals. Such as issues on transportation and blending sustainability into new developments. So our office administers the Certified Green Denver and Sustainable Neighborhoods programs. We're working hard to get more electric vehicle charging stations located citywide, and we deliberate with residents, business owners, and advocates on issues such as minimizing food waste and electrifying buildings. So Denver's committed to a rapid and equitable transition to a 100% renewable electricity system. Focusing on local clean energy infrastructure and expanding economic and environmental benefits to more members of our community. We need more solar citywide to achieve our climate goals. And what really resonates with me is that in addition to helping Denverites save on their utility bills and increasing the resilience of our energy infrastructure, installing more solar here in Denver creates new jobs right here in Denver. The positive economic impact and new employment opportunities presented in this effort is something we know our office can and must be focused on. Part of our 2020 budget is funding positions in job training programs in solar and in the buildings trade for people who are looking for work and may not have considered these jobs before. Community impact and equity are central to our strategies and programs, and this initiative has it all. So again, I thank all of you for joining us tonight. I hope you'll find this information to be actionable and that it provides what you need to take the next step in reducing your household's energy bills and its environmental impact. And I'll be listening as a potential customer myself. In the end, if rooftop solar isn't the best option for some of us, we can still contribute to Denver's renewable electricity transition by participating in our upcoming community solar program. And so now I'm actually going to hand it right off to Johnny Rogers, our renewable energy lead, to tell you more about it. So Johnny, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much, Grace. And thank you everyone for being here. And thank you, Bryce, for helping to organize Denver's second solar co-op. As Grace mentioned, deploying renewables, getting more of these clean energy systems out into the community is really imperative in our renewable energy strategy. And as an exciting complement to the solar co-op, in which hopefully many residents will take advantage of this opportunity to explore solar on their homes and on their rooftops, we're creating a complementary community solar program in which Denver is seeking to build up to 15 megawatts of community solar on our city facilities, on our rooftops, and as parking canopies at locations such as community centers and libraries. And this can provide access to folks who maybe don't own their home, or there's too much shading, or are just seeking an alternative option through which they can subscribe to and help contribute to Denver's clean energy objectives. What I'm really excited about the community solar program is that we're able to dedicate a portion of the power that we generate from those panels to help low-income residents save on their bills. And as part of the construction of these projects can require that we're creating job training programs with our construction partner and nonprofit Grid Alternatives, and working with Denver Public Schools to create student programs so we can help to engage kids both in the classroom and out in the field to learn more about and see the benefits of clean energy in Denver. So I'm really excited about these opportunities. Hopefully many of us will consider going solar on our own homes. And I'm excited that this year we have this secondary option as well for folks that might be looking for other ways to go solar. So thanks so much, everyone, and look forward to answering questions and talking more about these opportunities. Leave turning it over to Taylor.
All right. I'm Taylor Mullers. I work with Grace and Johnny at the city. Happy to be here. Excited to be working with Bryce again. My role at the city really focuses on engaging with the community. So mainly through Denver's Sustainable Neighborhoods program, actually how I met Bryce way back when. But over the past 7 years, I've gotten to meet so many amazing residents and work with them as they share their different interests, organize projects, build partnerships, and then take action to make meaningful change. So this year has been a crazy year. So this year it's a little different, but that's taken the form of appropriately socially distanced walks and rides, neighborhood cleanups, hosting online workshops to learn how to live more sustainably, and sharing personal experiences on anything from composting in the backyard, keeping bees, to going solar at home. And solar is why all of us are on this call tonight. So, as a city, we know that we can't achieve our climate and sustainability goals without support and action from everyone, our residents, our small businesses, everyone in the city. And we hear a lot of interest about going solar, but we also hear that the cost can be a barrier, or the process can just be really overwhelming to wade through all those different bids and compare different types of systems and all that kind of stuff. And what we really saw last year with the co-op in Denver was that there was a lot more education up front. Sun and Bryce and the staff there provided installer neutral resources and recommendations. The members got significantly discounted pricing. So that's another way to look at it. But, for all those reasons, we think the Denver Solar Co-op is an exciting, unique opportunity for everyone in the Denver community to be able to come together, learn more about solar. If the price and the options make sense for you, you can save some money on a system, and then ultimately we can all contribute to a cleaner future for Denver and the state and the world. So with that, I'll just pass it back to Bryce to let you guys know more about Sun and the co-op model. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Taylor, Johnny, Grace, Susan, Pete, and Stacy.